Hello and welcome to the Confidence Mastery podcast. This is one of your episodes on our body confidence series, specifically targeted at women. But if you are a man, you do feel free to listen because you may be able to share this with some women in your life as well. And some of the stuff that we are sharing does cross the two genders. So do feel free to continue to listen because there's going to be lots and lots of great nuggets of information here. Today, we have a very special lady joining us. Her name is Samantha Muckett. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very, very excited to speak with you. Could you, before we get going, give the listeners a little introduction to yourself, who you are, what you do, and then I can explain why I've asked you to be part of this series.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a coach and a healer. I've been doing this for about 6 years. And I've worked mainly with women across all areas of life. My current interest is in the physical body and the physical health, and also mental health. So yeah, I'm happy to talk about anything. Here to talk mainly about the relationship of our energy and our food on our health, basically.
Yeah, and it plays such an important part into how we look at our bodies and how we see ourselves when we heal and nourish our bodies in the right way. And that's partly why, well, it's a huge part of why I wanted you to be part of this series because you do a lot of great work and help a lot of people around this. What was it that drew you into this arena?
Specifically around sort of the body and
Yeah.
food and everything. So it was really my own journey with mental health. So, as I said, I've been doing sort of mindset and energy work and healing and things for 6 years. So I've been absorbed in that world. But in 2020, I was diagnosed with bipolar, and I was sectioned under Mental Health Act. I was in hospital for 2 weeks, and when I came out of that, I had some therapy and some group work and things like that, which was good, but it wasn't stabilizing my my emotions or my nervous system or anything. Everything was just pretty much fried. And then I kind of went into denial and was just like, yeah, I'm fine, everything's good. And I kind of just got on with my business and had a really good year in my business. But then I had a big burnout sort of early in last year, and I had another sort of psychosis event. And at that point, I was just like, okay, I need to figure out how to really get my mental health back.
Yeah.
I've never been on medication. I don't agree with being on medication because it just masks the problem. And then so I went through a lot of emotional healing because there was a lot of grief that I hadn't processed around my dad's death that came up, and there's a lot of trauma that came up that I had to process. And something that I turned to at the time when he died was food and alcohol. Back in 2014 he died. So I was drinking every day, binge eating whenever I wasn't able to cope with the grief and stuff. So at that time I just couldn't cope. I didn't have the mechanism to cope with it. And those patterns, I've been a sort of binge eater all my life, like on and off. But obviously got worse after that. So the weight just kind of creeped up as it does, and that was I'm starting to learn about the metabolic syndrome, which can have can cause so many different illnesses, but bipolar is one of them. So I started a keto diet. I stopped drinking, and that's obviously when all the emotion then started to come up because my body was able to heal and it was able to release all of that grief. So yeah, that was kind of an ongoing process last year and into this year. And now I've started doing the carnivore diet, which is basically just animal products. So it's meat, fish, a lot of fat, eggs,
Butter.
A lot of butter and some dairy. And this is now, like, I've done a lot of research into it, and this for me now feels like it's actually repairing my brain and repairing my nervous system in a way that, you know, mindset work doesn't do, healing work doesn't do. And yeah, I'm kind of kicking myself that it's taken me this long to figure it out, but you know, it's
Everything happens for a reason, and you're meant to go through different processes to figure out like what's the right thing for you. And that, you know, you've been through a lot and you've shared a lot, so thank you for being honest with that, and getting to the point that you're at now. If you hadn't had those other things that you tried, you wouldn't be able to share your experiences with people, and like having done the research. So it's a good thing if we think about it from that perspective. Everything we do is a learning curve.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the coaching industry, you know, so much is focused on thoughts and emotions, and yeah, that work definitely is useful and have a huge impact. But if your physical body is dysregulated, you know, it just constantly undoes the work. So you have to just constantly be doing the mindset work and the energy work, and that becomes a full-time job because you're just trying to manage. Whereas, you know, if you actually look at the body as well, and you can heal, you know, in all three areas, then you can actually like move on with your life.
It helps. It helps in so many ways. Like there's that phrase in there: "You are what you eat," and the stuff that we put, or most people in the world that we put into our bodies, isn't nutritionally dense. It's highly calorific and doesn't actually do our body any good other than giving us a short burst of energy to complete the next task. So if we think back to 150, 200 years ago, where we didn't have all of these processed foods and e-numbers and whatever they spray stuff with now, people were probably able to have better regulated bodies, and there probably were less mental health issues because their bodies were working correctly and that brain functions correctly because you're feeding it the right nutrition. And then that shows on the outside. So you can look at the internal and external body and have more confidence in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, and confidence is something that's definitely come back for me. So like I didn't have any confidence because I didn't know how I was going to feel from minute to minute, let alone day to day. You know, my emotions were all over the place. So I had no confidence to be able to like commit to anything or you know, make a promise to anyone about what I was going to do. And so, you know, I couldn't work because you know, I need to be in a certain space to be able to work and to help people, and I couldn't do that. So yeah, my confidence is definitely coming back. Because I'm also autistic, so I struggle with verbal processing sometimes, and being able to get words out, and you know, be around people, and I've actually found that now my nervous system is more regulated. I can actually, you know, string a sentence together. I can go to the supermarket and I'm not like completely overwhelmed by people. So yeah, it's incredible. It's yeah, it's yeah.
That's really, really amazing to hear. And like if you think about yourself now to compared to like 5 years ago, how much has it improved your life, like learning how to look after your body properly?
I mean, it's been a massive impact on my relationship because yeah, like being in a relationship with someone, obviously like you get things that trigger you and you have to deal with stuff. And I mean, we've done quite a lot of kind of spiritual work and conscious relationship work before, but again, it was, you know, at the time it was, we spent a lot of time dealing with emotions and having these big long conversations about what we thought was wrong, when actually it was the fact that we weren't honoring our bodies and you know, having boundaries and having standards around what we put in our bodies. So it was creating all this dysregulation. So yeah, now it's a lot easier and more fun. You know, we're both on this journey together, and we'd have more fun, and it's a lot more light, and it's not serious. Like we're always constantly trying to manage, you know, all these things, you know. So that's been great. Physically, I mean, just so in the last 2 years I've lost 2 stone, which doesn't sound a lot. Like in 2 years there's been a lot of like underlying patterns that I needed to heal, and, you know, heal the binge eating and stuff, because if I just went to calorie restriction, lost weight, I wasn't a different person, I would just put the weight back on, which is just what's always happened in the past. So it's just little things, like I can climb the stairs and I'm not like out of breath, you know. Like I'm excited about buying clothes again, which I haven't been for ages. Yeah, just
Do you feel like you need to hide away less?
yeah, I'm feeling more like, you know, people can look at me in the street or on social media or whatever, and it's like, that's nice, rather than it being like, oh no, don't look at me.
There's a lot of attachment to self-worth to like a person's weight. And for me, I've said this a lot, like when I see somebody who's got a great physique that goes to the gym, or you can tell that they really work out, it's not so much the way they look that I admire, it's the work that goes into creating that. Because as a gym person myself, I know what it takes. I don't necessarily think that being a bit overweight is a terrible thing, but people do tend to feel better if they're not carrying that extra bit that, you know, you don't need. And if you're able to run up the stairs and not be out of breath and feel more comfortable, more confident in your clothes, then surely that's a key demonstration of not being obese.
Yeah, I think we've kind of gone down this like toxic body positivity
Mm,
route, where people are like, oh, love your curve. You know, I saw one the other day. It's like, love your curves, don't try and fix it. And, you know, we have to be able to hold these two truths of like, I can love and accept myself as I am, and not hate myself and not hate my body. And I can also want to improve it and get healthy and feel good. And, you know, the weight loss is almost a side product of eating healthily and exercising. And yeah, I think when we just go into like, oh, just love your body, it's fine, you know, you look great, you don't need to, you know, when I was trying on my wedding dress, people were like, you don't, I was like, I'm going to lose weight for the wedding.
yeah.
Oh no, you don't have to lose weight, you look brilliant, you look brilliant. I'm like, it's not about that. It's like, I don't want to feel the way I feel right now on my wedding day. So, you know, that was kind of the catalyst for me to start losing the weight. And I, you know, I had a year to do it, so it wasn't like I just need to lose it quickly.
Yeah.
But I was, you know, I was still heavier than I wanted to be on my wedding day, and I still, you know, had a lovely day. And
Having a target and a goal for something like that is definitely beneficial when it comes to putting in the work to make it happen, because otherwise we can just meander through life not really taking action or like moving the goalposts. If you've got an actual wedding date, you're not going to move that just because you've not hit your target. That would be a bit silly. I think you're very right about the toxic positivity around body positivity, because it's giving people permission to be unhealthy. And I talk a lot about health, mental health, obviously confidence and mindset. But if you are unhealthy, your life isn't going to be the fullest it can possibly be. So whilst you can possibly look in the mirror and say, yeah, I love my curves, I honestly don't believe that to be true for people that are struggling to walk and to breathe and like can't go and exercise because they're at that point that's too far down the spectrum. Um, how do we help change that to help people to understand that it's not necessarily about your size, it's about the health of your body, and because we have one body to live in.
So I think we have to have that conversation for a start around toxic body positivity, and yeah, just kind of undo that and come to like, okay, what's real, like what's the truth of your experience, like are you struggling to walk up the stairs, like do you feel sexy, would you like to get into other clothes, because I think we have completely swung to this point of like it's almost shameful to want to lose weight, and we have to approve of our own desire to do that. Even when you've got people saying, oh no, just have a pudding, or just have a glass of wine, and it's like you have to be like confident in yourself, and to be able to say no, I'm doing this for me. So there's that. I mean, there's so much relationship dynamic stuff that goes into this, because food, it's love, it's nurturing, it's family, it's bonding, and there's an individuation process to go through where you actually decide, actually I don't care what other people think, I'm not gonna, I used to eat to please other people, and because it was just easier to do that than have people go, oh, why no. And
all of that questioning, it's like going out and not drinking, and people say, oh, don't be boring.
Yeah.
Don't have to drink to be fun.
Yeah. So and that stuff used to make me, like, I used to choose to live in their world rather than living in my own world. And because like the whole reason I put on weight is like a self-abandonment trauma. Like I had to learn to be loyal to myself and not abandon myself and go, okay, I'm not gonna follow what you want, I'm gonna do what I want. Yeah, and what's right for me.
What helped you to give yourself the permission to do that? Because I think that's something that a lot of people won't do, and a lot of people are people pleasers, and like you say, they'll cater to their friends or family's needs, and also, or all of that. What gave you yourself the permission to give yourself permission?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, it's kind of practice. Like I think sometimes it's just having like a really small win. Like maybe you don't have a pudding when you would normally have a pudding, or you leave some food on your plate, and you have to be okay, like, to feel uncomfortable. It is going to feel uncomfortable at the beginning because you're going against the pattern that you've been living in for so long. So it's being willing to feel that discomfort of, oh, I'm disappointing this person by not eating this food. Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, for me, I think it just got to the point where I was like, I can't live like this anymore. It's costing me too much. Like I broke my foot because I was drinking, and I like walked on, like took a first step in my to go up to bed, and just like fell off the step and like broke my foot. And that was kind of around like December when my dad passed away, and I was drinking a lot, and so yeah, the cost just got too much for me. And what I've found is like the more that I choose myself and I have that standard for myself, other people around me kind of shift as well. So my husband stopped drinking, but that would never have happened if I'd said, right, we need to stop drinking, like, or we need to do this. It was all just like, all right, this is what I'm doing for me, and then he's just kind of followed
the journey with you.
Yeah. So it becomes easier, I think, over time, and like with with friends, I mean, there's some people you're just not going to spend time with, you know. Like if your only thing that you did as friends was like go out and eat cake, then well, that's not a thing anymore. So
Yeah, yeah. I think that's
might
a
not be.
really good point. Like the people you spend time with and the activities that you do, they need to change with it if you ultimately want to break these habits that aren't serving you. Having the
Mm,
right kind of the right, yeah, the right kind of people around you and doing different kinds of activities. So like for example, I used to go and get absolutely smashed myself, and a lot of that came also through grief. And then now it's like, okay, oh, who can I see that will come up the mountain with me, as
yeah.
opposed to let's go sit in the bar all day, although I do quite enjoy that. um, it's fun. It's a bit of balance and like the right support. And like you say, if you tell people, the more and more you tell people and you demonstrate that I'm doing this for me, like I don't care whether you approve or not, because ultimately it's not their life, is it?
Yeah, and often when people don't, and especially around drinking, like if people don't approve of you, it's because they don't want to look at their own reason why they're drinking. So they're projecting that disapproval onto you, but it's actually, you know, it's nothing to do with you. It's about them. And you know, that's useful to know, because then when whatever somebody says, you don't need to take it to heart and take it on as like, oh, this is true about me. Um, you know, they're saying that you're boring when you're not drinking because they believe they're boring when they don't drink. Um,
That's such a great point. It is mostly a projection of their what they see of themselves, and something for everybody to remember, you know, because they don't live your life and they can't do the work for you. Bit like I can't lose weight for you. I can't go and exercise for you. You have to do that yourself, but you have to want to do that yourself.
mm,
Um, and for the right reason. So that getting into that healthier state of mind, so your brain functions better, you
mm.
gain more confidence, like by proxy, from doing that. And you've demonstrated that yourself. I know I have demonstrated that myself, and it's an interesting journey to go on, and to allow yourself to go, hang on, I'm going to do this. I'm going to,
Um,
hello. Had a little technical issue there. That's okay. Um, what would you say to people that are looking at themselves at the moment? They feel like they're constantly making the wrong choices and hitting that self-sabotage button. And maybe we'll come to that bit in a bit. What would you say to them to get them to start getting on the right track to feeling healthier and more confident in their own body?
And I think something that's really helpful to understand is that there is a lag time between when you make the decision and when you actually embody that choice, like 100%. So, you know, I was choosing to eat healthily, I was choosing to not drink, I was choosing to respect my body and stuff. But there were times when I would get triggered and food was the coping mechanism. So, you know, I would know that that was what was happening, and I'd maybe just give myself like 10-15 minutes to try and feel as much as I could of the you know, the trauma and the emotions that were coming up that I was suppressing. But then at some point I might still binge, but it might not be as much as I would have done if I'd have just gone straight into it. You know, maybe I'll go take a bath, like try and find some, like it's a re-education, like how else can I soothe myself?
Yeah.
I do need soothing at this point because I'm, you know, something has come up that's difficult for me to deal with. Um, and when your nervous system is not regulated, it's difficult to move from the fight and flight response into that soothe response. So you might need a lot of, you know, hugging or, you know, a bath or something. You might need it seems like a lot to give yourself, but
Mm-hmm.
it's because that nervous system just, it can't like click over into the rest and repair. side of things. So giving yourself a lot of time and space to relearn that, so that when you get triggered, then the nervous system, it becomes more supple, and it's easier to move between states. But that does take time. And if you do go for a coping mechanism and numb yourself, whether that's, you know, food, alcohol, social media, whatever, you know that you've done a little bit, and it's going to get easier as time goes on. And eventually you hit this tipping point where either where you don't get triggered as much for a start, but when you do get triggered, it's much less, and it's much easier to stay still and not go into that coping mechanism. I mean, you know, I'm not going to say I'm never going to binge again, or I'm never going to fall off the wagon again. Like, it could happen, but I feel I've hit that tipping point of, like, I feel more confident. I know that I've got the tools that I need when I do get triggered with something. And you know, I've got that. Asking for support was something I never ever did. I was very hyper independent, and now I'm able to I've got a support network that I can tap into and be like, hey, I just need to talk this thing through because I'm really angry with this thing, and or, you know, please may I have a hug because I've had a bad day, whatever.
Never underestimate the power of a hug.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, like the oxytocin regulates our nervous system, so like that bonding hormone, especially for women, once we've activated oxytocin, it reduces our stress, and it like regulates all of the hormones. So yeah, hugging every day, and even, you know, giving yourself a hug, and yeah, and doing things that make you feel happy, all of that is like, it's, you know, it's energetic food. You know, what you're watching on telly or what you're watching on social media and what you're making matter, all of that is food that's going into the system. And if you're taking that junk, I mean, I love a bit of junk telly, but a
little bit every now and then,
a little bit. But yeah, if you're just watching EastEnders and the news and you're just constantly taking in all this toxic energy, you can't process all of that, and your body's going to then go, oh, I just need some junk food because that's all I'm worthy of. You just keep feeding me junk. So yeah, it's looking at all, you know, everything, not just the food and the drink, but the emotions, what you're taking in, what you're choosing, the relationships you're choosing. I forgot what the question was. I'm just I'm just on a roll now.
Right, no, I think this is great, because if you think about the past 3 years, if you're listening to this in 2023, if you're listening to it later on, then it'll have been longer. But those 3 years, there's been so much fear-based propaganda that people have become in a state of fear, and people started drinking more, and they started eating more, and they were exercising less. So they're in this state of stress constantly. So the body can't figure things out or make rational decisions or informed choices, because they're just constantly getting this junk put into them. And if your body's in a different state because you're feeding it like positivity, you're giving it good nutrition, you're going to look at your body and be more appreciative of it, and then the choices that you make. And it's a good point that you make about it's going to take time. So the question was about getting started, and understanding that it's going to take time for you to change these habits. And I really liked what you said about what can I do instead. So it's slowly, or giving yourself a bit of time to think and process, what am I feeling? This is usually my go-to. Let's go and try something else. And if that doesn't work, then try something else. Not necessarily go back to the thing that you used to do. And then yeah, eventually you should be able to replace the ones that don't serve you with habits that do.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, we are challenged by like what's accepted in society. You know, if it was like, oh, I'm just gonna have a little bit of heroin every now and again, people would disapprove of that. But when it comes to alcohol, like, it's just so part of our society. but yeah, it's a drug, and it has an effect on the body. My aunt works in a supermarket, and she said during a normal, like before COVID, the tags that you take off, the security tags, they used to put them into a trolley, and every day they'd fill up the trolley like once and it'd be done. During COVID, she said they emptied that trolley 5 times a day.
Wow.
So people were buying 5 times as much alcohol. Oh my God.
Wow. That's incredible.
And yeah, isn't that, I thought it was more, but like 5 times more. And that's spirits as well, because that's all it's the spirits that have the security tags.
Never mind the rest of it. Wow.
Yeah.
I quit drinking for 31 days in the first lockdown because I thought if I could deal with all of this and not drink, I've cracked life. And I was going to do 30 days. I did 31. I don't think I was drinking the amount I used to, but I did get to a point. I'm just thinking, this isn't helping. I'm still doing all of the exercise, and I'm still eating and cooking. I had a face of memory come up recently. Over Saturday night, me doing a cooking show, making protein pancakes because there was nothing else. I thought that was nuts. Like that was such a crazy time. And I think people are still using that as a bit of an excuse of, oh, it's lockdown weight, or I think that society's back open enough to be normal now for to get to let go of that excuse and get yourself back into those good habits. And hopefully they're only emptying the trolley once a day now, again, not 5. You'll have to ask her for me. And
what it is now. Yeah.
So when these things happen, so obviously we're looking at how we feel in ourselves physically, and obviously that's linked to like mentally. We're talking about good nutrition and getting started with these new habits that serve. When people get to a point where they do fall off the wagon and think, fuck it, like if I open a pack of biscuits, I guarantee you that entire packet of biscuits will go. So I don't buy biscuits. Like that's that biscuits are my thing. How do people go from I need the whole packet to I just have 1 or 2? Like just because I fucked up a little bit doesn't mean I can carry on like ruining the hard work that I put in. What advice would you give for that?
I think, I mean, I'm not an expert in the sort of nutrition side of things, but just from my own kind of research and understanding, a lot of that food is designed to be moreish, and if you've got insulin resistance, if you're overweight, you've probably got insulin resistance, so that food is going to be even more addictive to you than it would be to somebody who's a normal weight. So it's not a willpower thing, it's a physical thing where your body is craving that. And then obviously you've got gut bacteria that want that sugar and want those carbs, and while you've got that in your gut, those bacteria are influencing your decisions and where you're going for things. So the cravings are coming from those bacteria that like, yes, sugar please. So there's a lot of, it's not as easy as just, well, I'm just gonna, I mean, not buying the biscuits is probably the best thing you could do. I'm exactly the same. Like if I ever bought anything, I would go to the shop and I'd be like, right, I'll buy peanuts, I'll buy crisps, I'll buy this. This would be like for a couple of days and it'd be all gone within a few hours. And I'm like, just don't buy it. Like that's the point where you control. But once, like for me, once I've now become fat adapted, so I'm now burning fat rather than carbs, I'm not craving anything. I'm not just like, eating is now it's fuel to put in my body. I've still got a bit of the like food is entertainment. I would look forward to going out and stuff, but now it's more about like, where can I get my steak, and where can I go for some nice high quality food, rather than Yeah,
What
I mean, I would, yeah,
stuff in, yeah.
chips and fried food and stuff. No, and your taste buds change, and
They do. It's really interesting. I had a bet with a friend when I was 17. She said, I bet you can't not eat crisps and chocolate and sweets for 3 months. And I was like, all right, I'll show you. And I did it. And I tried to eat crisps like after that. And I was like, I do not like these anymore. Um,
mhm.
and obviously over time, like I have a packet here, a packet there. But it's strange because I used to buy like 5 or 6 different bars of chocolate and then have a little bit of each one because I wanted I needed like a selection box. So but I was very good with that and not eating like the whole entire 6 bars, just a little bit of each, and then that would like last a while. Um,
Mhm.
but it was very interesting that she thought I couldn't do it. Um, and I think if somebody challenges, well, for me anyway, challenges me to something, I'm like, I'll show you. So having like little competitions with yourself, not necessarily for any other reason other than looking after yourself or entering I was going to say a contest, or doing some competitions or training for something like Tough Mudders, etc. Like are
Mm.
really great ways to help you or set a wedding to help you to think, okay, I want to change these habits because I want to feel good in my body. I want to feel confident. And that ultimately is surely what life's about, is feeling the best you can possibly feel. And that is happy and confident, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like with the carnivore, I was like, I'm going to do 30 days because it's a big change to say, I'm only going to eat animal products. And I'd done keto before, and although it definitely stopped the cravings and the overeating, like I just felt really sick on it. It was really full and heavy. So I was like, I don't want that, and I couldn't stick to keto because of that. So
Yeah.
with this, I was like, I'll try it for 30 days, and I'll that's what I know I can commit to that
Yeah.
rather than going, this is me for life. So having that time frame has really helped because there's been a few days where I'm like, oh, I just don't want to eat any meat. I can't eat any more meat. But then funnily enough, like as soon as I'm hungry and I start eating, I'm like, oh yeah, meat. It's what my body wants. My body, I can feel when I started doing it and I was just eating steak, I was like, my body just like is responding to this meat in a way, like as I'm eating it, in a way that my body doesn't respond to anything. I'm just numb when I'm eating normally, and I can feel the like life force in my body is like, yes, give me.
I love that. And you should feel like that when you put something into your body, something good, and getting that energy so you get better brain function and like all of it is it's all encompassing, isn't it? Um, you said it took you a long time to get through to where you are now. What do you wish you'd known prior to now that might help other people on their body confidence journey?
Just in the last two years, like the losing the weight in the last 2 years, um that calories don't matter, and that it's like what you put in your body that matters, and having that nutrient dense food and fat. Like I wouldn't say I was terrified of fat because I wasn't, but I've definitely grown up in that conditioning of like have low fat food,
Mm.
don't have high fat. If you're gonna have yogurt, have low fat. Um, don't have butter, have margarine or olive oil or whatever.
Margarine is the worst thing in the
I
world.
know.
Basically plastic.
Yeah, I haven't eaten it for years, but
I was brought up on anchor butter and lots of it.
yeah, nice. But yeah, like lean meat. So, eat chicken breasts and eat vegetables. Like if I was ever losing weight and it was in calorie restriction,
Mm.
it was 1,600 calories a day and yes, I lost weight, but I did hit a plateau. So I've basically been the same weight for like 8 months. And then I started the carnivore and I lost 10 pounds in 2 weeks because I was eating fat, and I was eating like 2,500 calories a day. So yeah, I would say don't focus on the calories, focus on what you're actually putting in your body. And it doesn't suit everybody, I know that, but like, yeah, eating a lot of fat and getting your calories from fat for me is definitely working. And especially if you've got ADHD or, you know, any of the kind of neurodiversities, it really does, it really is good for the brain. And, you know, I think because when you're neurodivergent, you know, you've got a lot of like abandonment and rejection wounds anyway. So if you start feeding the brain and start, you know, functioning better, all of that rejection, anxiety, and all that kind of thing just dampens down. So then you're not like going out and eating to please people and cope with, you know, I went out to a charity ball last year and I wasn't drinking, and it was just so loud. I could not cope with the noise, because I would drink normally to like obviously mask all of the sensations and the noises and stuff. So when I wasn't drinking, I was like, wow, this is way too much for my body. I cannot cope with this, and I had to leave. But that was, you know, more what was true for my body. Whereas in the past, you know, I used to go clubbing and you know, have have fun with lots of noise and lots of people and stuff. But that was clearly, you know, just a way overloading my system and not knowing that was what was happening. So
It's interesting, isn't it? It's also like different phases of your life, and I couldn't think of. I couldn't face the idea of not going out till 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, that's what we used to do. We used to go at 1 o'clock in the morning to like these very loud raves, and I
yeah.
just like, no, I want to get up at 7 or 8 and go to the gym, and the gym's really loud. That's enough, and you know, dance around there, not around all of these. Oh, but those were the days, the fun stuff.
Yeah, definitely fun. Don't regret it, but yeah, can't cope with that anymore.
And what I really appreciate is having that period of life and knowing that there was enjoyment there, and then knowing what life is now and that there's enjoyment here too, and that's okay. And I used to be like, part of the reason for the body confidence series, like, I used to be so mean to myself, and I was never fat. I had the flattest stomach like of my school. I remember like being in a drama class and people pulling my shirts up, like where's your? There's nothing there. Um, but I used to think that I was fat, so it was absolutely ridiculous. Um, to then make those changes and then start to be kind and accept the compliments that would come, and like looking at myself in the mirror and say, right, okay, I like this bit, I like this bit, and dressing for your shape rather than what the latest fashion is. I do, you know, do stuff that makes you feel good in your own body. And like now, I'm the heaviest I've ever been, but I've packed on so much muscle and I like the way that I look. Whereas when I was 18, I was like next to, I don't know how much I weighed, and struggling. So you can be heavier and healthier, but also have more confidence. It's just all about the way that we look at these things. And I think, well, I know I certainly feed myself better quality nutrition than I used to. Don't buy 6 bars of chocolate anymore. Oh dear. So if you could give people some top tips for increasing their body confidence that they could implement from listening to this, what could they be?
And I think whenever you do get triggered, like emotionally, like maybe somebody's said something, done something, the situation has come up, rather than blaming that person, or having a go and just sort of ranting about what's happening. Just kind of bring yourself back into your body and bring your presence. Imagine you're just like, you're looking down onto the body, so you're separate from it, and just notice where the sensations are, the tension, the pain, and just be with it and breathe into it. And there's basically like layers. So a trauma, something that's happened to you in the past, has come up to be healed, and there'll be layers to it. So there's the initial frustration with the current situation, but that's not what it's really about. So when you go in and you breathe and you're being with it, like it'll release that frustration, and then there'll be a different emotion, maybe sadness or anger or something. We tend to repress anger because we're told it's not okay to be angry. So and you just start to like move those emotions around the body, so they're not just stuck in one place, and like breathe and open up and be willing to kind of experience that emotion. And it might need some, like like stretching or like stamping your feet,
Screaming into a pillow.
Yeah. And once that anger's gone, or whatever the emotion is, get to the point where you're just empty and there's no story, there's nothing, and that's how you increase your presence with yourself, so that then when an emotion does come or a trigger does come, there's a lot more space for it, and you have a lot more stillness, so that it's easier to go, oh, okay, yeah, this doesn't matter. I love the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he's got some amazing meditations around bringing presence and awareness to the body. And then when you feel, because when you're feeling the emotion, there's an addiction to the emotion itself.
Yeah.
And there's a neural pathway there that just automatically like takes you down that road. So the more you replay that emotion and stay in that, the more you reinforce it, and the more you stay addicted to it. So when you notice it, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to choose. People don't think they can choose their emotions, but you can go, okay, I can sense that I'm in anger here. I don't want to be in anger. I'm not denying it. I know that the anger is there. I want to feel peace. So I'm going to choose peace. And again, that might take some time. It might take a day. But the more you do it, the quicker it gets. And then you create that neural pathway.
Yeah.
And you just feel more peace, and you cultivate peace. So yeah, taking responsibility for what you're feeling, rather than making it about the external situation, and then choosing what you want to feel and creating that more often. Yeah, but Joe Dispenza's meditations are amazing. You can get them on Audible.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. I think there's so much that people can use there and learn to look at how they're nourishing their body and their mind in order to bring about more confidence. And like, thank you so much for sharing your journey and everything that you have shared today. I've said shared about 15 times there. Where can people find you, follow you, and online stalk you? Because we're fans of online stalking, just not in-person stalking.
So at the moment, Facebook, I'm sharing a lot on my feed. I've also got a free group called the Carnivore Reset, so I'm sharing my carnivore journey specifically in there. Yeah, that's probably the best place for now.
Amazing. Thank you. We shall put all of that in the show notes. And if you've got any questions do you prefer Sam or Samantha? Sam. So if you've got any questions for Sam, I'm sure she will answer them if you hit her up on Facebook. And if you could leave people with one tip to be more confident, what would it be?
Don't give a fuck what people think of you.
Yes. It's so true. Do you know what? When I stopped caring what other people thought of me, my life became so much better. So much better. Like literally, even from like what I do with my hair. I used to think, because we did it bit by bit by bit, and I had this blonde strip in, and then we put some colour in, and then we put some colour in. And when I thought, do you know what? It doesn't matter what other people think and what they're going to think about. If I like it, then that's all that matters. And that gave me so much power and so much freedom that here we are today, you know? Now I look like Ariel. Oh, amazing, Sam. Thank you so much for joining us. To everybody listening, please do share this with your wives, girlfriends, sisters, mothers, daughters, and also all of the men as well, because they'll be able to share and learn some stuff here too. And even with people that you don't like, because they might then become a nicer person, you might become friends again. Sam, thank you so much. Thank you to the listeners, and we shall see you on the next one. Bye.